video divides Star Trek generations. Well, hey, it's Tuesday. This is Trekland, and we're live. It must be Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trekler Nemecek, coming right to you from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47. Hey, every week, it's your big picture for clarity and sanity in all things Star Trek. Glad you could be with us today. Got a fun topic. Maybe not what you think it is. How video divides Star Trek generations. I don't mean the movie. I mean the things. Okay? And as we get started, I want to welcome everybody back. Everybody's popping into the chat here. Going to get to chat in just a little bit. So everybody on Twitch, just hang tight. I will see you after the break when we get to Q&A chat. But right now, I want to talk about my topic here. As I remind you up front, I want to thank all of our Patreons, all our TTL Club and our live wires there. Okay? We got them all. Thank you, guys and gals. And after the break, we'll get to the Parrot Analytics ratings. The break in just a little bit. We'll do the Parrot Analytics US TV ranking ratings. And also, I'll get to the chat in just a second. But first, I've got a topic that was inspired by just something that happened yesterday. And no, I don't mean our 1994 crossover TOS TNG movie, Star Trek Generations. I mean the Star Trek Generations. And if I'm sounding like talking about how video divides them, I'm not going to be confrontational. This is not about a negative topic. Maybe a better word would have been defines. Yes, how video defines Star Trek Generations. Look, all this started, I had the pleasure to catch yesterday evening on my time anyway. A lot of you know Allie, T-Trekkie, or 24-year-old Trekkie. She was 23-year-old Trekkie, and time moves on. Anyway, for her birthday, she had the great idea to invite a bunch of friends on to talk about what Star Trek means to them. Not so much about her, but she just wanted a happy video of people talking about their feelings about Star Trek. And it was, yes, it did its desired effect. So shout out to her and everybody in the video. It has its desired effect. It brought a smile, and it brought a lot of voices and or faces to folks that you'd only know about from their Twitter feeds or their podcasts or, yes, their vidcasts. But they're all in head towels like Allie's Towel Talk Tuesday, you know, her brand. But they're all thoughtful, delightful, and vulnerable. And what struck me as I was watching this parade of faces and the way people opened up about their feelings and their vulnerabilities, it made me realize that we really do have at least one kind of a generational divide in our culture. It's not a bad thing. It's not wrong or right. It's just something that's different. Now, I've kidded a long time. I think others probably have too. I've kidded for a long time that anybody who came along after 1975 was just born coding, okay? They have a keyboard in their hand. HTML is just in their DNA. I mean, we've had personal computers big time since the 80s, right? The mid-80s. Well, the past few years have taught me that anyone who came along after 1995, like Allie, or maybe 1990, they were born with a camera in their hand. Either a Sony Handycam, you know, or now an iPhone. I mean, look, people, we have always had media as a cultural touchstone, okay? I mean, radio comes along in the 20s. It cut down regionalism, united us, and it made advertising a god for the masses, right? Then we get to TV, where even more of all of that, plus now pictures are the main thing, right? And then you're in the TV era, and movies too had already been doing that. But oh my God, TV is everybody's living room, no excuse. And then Laugh-In sped everything up, and All in the Family made it okay to flush a toilet on TV or to make fun of bigots on TV, which then you had to explain what a bigot was. I mean, you know, all of that, and then came the real people on MTV, or the real world, the real people. Because some of them I don't think were too real. But then you got to Real World on MTV in the mid-90s. So, you know, forget music videos. I think MTV's biggest legacy MTV's truly biggest legacy is the fact that people talk right into a camera about anything. I know I'm one to talk, right? But okay, this is supposed to be a Star Trek comment. So, like in most of culture, it all gets reflected in Star Trek, okay? Not just by the creative product, but by the fandom. And I know we have introverts and we have extroverts in all ages, okay? But I just keep thinking about how the real world, how that divide has spawned, 20 years of people who feel perfectly natural just talking into a camera about their most personal, intense feelings. And they don't feel odd watching other people do it or watching other people get paid to do it on TV. And if they're not newscasters, So really, yesterday, all these beautiful comments by beautiful people talking about what Star Trek means to them. I mean, it's hardly the first time anyone's done something like that. We had the Wiki documentary in 2016 for the 50th. Tons of people talking about it. The DS9 documentary, of course, has lots of fans in it talking about DS9. It's not a new thing. My point is here, that's a reminder. It's a reminder, again, well, what Star Trek means to people and why, it broke out of the pack, why the failed little TV show is still around here 50 years. I mean, it affected people, obviously. I mean, it affected people enough to consume it when it's made, to consume the leftovers when it's not being made, to make their own when it goes away, and then protest it going away. Or protest it when they don't like the new recipe. And I don't know how I got off onto a food metaphor here, but I did. But yeah, protest it when they don't particularly like what tonight's serving is. Because, of course, no two people think alike. And that's all good. This thing about cameras, it's just a generational comfort zone. I mean, Star Trek hardly pointed that out. It's one of those things that gives sociologists a job, every generation. What was happening in the world, what was happening in culture, technology, other places, what's affecting them en masse that's underlying whatever individual thing is happening with it. It's a job that'll never go away if you enjoy that. And now, just on the side, that includes social media, obviously. It's a topic that takes up a lot of your time. I don't mean just doing it, I mean talking about it as we see effects in culture, politics especially, but yes, all of our popular pursuits, right? Social media and even our fan passions like Star Trek. Okay, social media. I highly recommend, on the side, there's a new Netflix documentary, we just watched it the other night, called The Social Dilemma, and it explains so much of what we're all talking about here as it affects fandom. It looks at the unintended consequence. They talked to 10 or 12 pioneers in social media in the aughts, the 90s and into the aughts. It looks at so much of those unintended consequences, the ripple effects. And I've said here many times, that is as much of an effect and something we're only just now starting to study and be aware of. We're out of the baby days when it was great to talk to grandma or post your wedding pictures or find your old high school classmates. Those first 5-10 years were lots of fun. But it's a lot like the atom bomb coming along in 1945. First, it gives you a real sense of security and you win your world war and you can keep down all the bad guys in the world as long as you don't turn into a bad guy. But then eventually, the scientific and the social ramifications wash over you. And it has unintended consequences, right? And you see that in pop culture, you see it in the psyches of generations. And that's where we are with social media. We're just now waking up to study that. Now, and as that documentary said, it's scary enough that they're tracking everything you do online, which is so much of your life. That's scary, and they're able to manipulate you that way. What's maddening is where Google and Facebook and Twitter and all the rest are making all their YouTube. They're making their money. Yes, I know. I'm talking to you over social media right now. But be smart. What's maddening is that they're making billions from our data that we don't even know we're giving up freely. And we don't even know that they're doing it. They're making money on us because they're tracking us and manipulating. And they're not just tracking it. They're not just stalking us. they're manipulating us on where to go and what to do. Anyway, it's a great documentary, Social Dilemma. It brings to light things across the board. Politics, yes, but fandoms and sports fandoms and the whole bit. Gamergate, yes. So that's there. Now, I meet plenty of older folks. Yes, really. I mean, I'm going to say over 40 that correspond not just to the camera divide, but to the social media divide. Lots of people who are older who refuse to have anything to do with social media. I mean, they may let their spouse or their kids, someone like that do it for them just so they can kind of be connected. But they don't like the whole world knowing every little thing in their life, whether it's the color of the bell peppers in their salad or the color of their politics. They don't like the whole world knowing that, much less their most innermost feelings. They just like their privacy, go figure. I mean, they're not throwbacks. They may be the smartest ones of all. And I'm not saying here, again, if you can use Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, if you're smart enough or resistant enough not to get sucked down those advertising rabbit holes, hey, you can laugh all the way to the bank. You can organize your events, reach people, and do all of that. On the benign side of the fact. But so much of us, we're sucked in, or it's like almost unavoidable. And depending on the platform, can really be seductive. Now, aside from all of that, I'm back to when you do see folks, say over 40 on camera, it still feels like, man in the street interviews or jaywalking. And if you know what I mean by those, then you're probably in that group. But look, all younger fans, they all look like Allie's well-wishers. They don't just say what they mean, they say what they feel. And they're perfectly happy and they're at ease to do so. And that's cool. Now, I never had that need or that, a comfort zone. Yeah, I've worked in media. I've done acting. I've done reporting. I've done that thing. So there's kind of an ease there. But I never need to look in a camera to tell. And I'm not saying everybody is a camera needy. The whole generation, much less anybody in Allie's. It was invitation. People talked. But once you're there, there's just an ease of having that camera born in your hand. To tell people, not just like how looking good on camera, but opening up and telling people what you feel. I have to still go there to get to that. But then again, I didn't grow up with the real world. And the bottom line here through all of this, aside from please go watch The Social Dilemma, is that's another factor and underlines how we do see Star Trek, how we do see the new era Star Trek series, and part of how they feel or they don't feel in sync with us, okay? Like I said, it's been great to see the outpouring for Star Trek, like in her video. It's good to see the good side of socials, the sharing of feelings. And brother, 2020 is a year when feeling sharing may be our path to sanity, much less survival, okay? As long as it's not fake feelings, okay? It's just an evolution. And in this case, watching everybody pile on, say, to her video when the subject was Star Trek, and the bright light it brings to the speakers, as well as people, watching, to all of our worlds. Yes, it made me smile big time. And also realize, once again, no other time before now could we have had that. In a mass scale, in a mass way. Look, these things are just tools. And like I said, if you think about it, they are just tools. And say, a hoe, a garden hoe. You can take a hoe and feed your family, or you can take a hoe and go kill an abusive husband. Looking at you, fried green tomatoes. So anyway, that unavoidable generational DNA difference, it's just going to color everything. It always does. Whatever generation, whatever the subject matter is we're talking about. In this case, it will too. Again, it will color us, including how we watch and how we react to Star Trek, new and old Star Trek, that is. We just need to always be mindful of that as we filter everything we watch, even beyond Star Trek, if there is such a thing. Everything we watch and everything we read ourselves, firsthand. And then when we watch and read about somebody else's Trek. I mean, words on paper is one thing. Saying it to camera joyfully, that's another. And in this case, I'm just saying, it was a joy to watch. Happy birthday, Allie, T-Trekkie. And thanks for this soapbox today. Okay, everybody, just a little mindfulness there. Hey, I'm going to take a break in just a second. But if you're sticking around with us after the break, that means if you're watching on Facebook, by the way. If you're not going to be joining us later in a second, I just want to give a quick shout out, yes, to thank all of our Patreon folks here in our TTL club. That's Blaze K. Lawrence Todd and Blake Arledge. Thank you guys and gals on down. And our live wires. Thank you, Rusty, Harold. First name base is a lot of folks, so it's there. Jared Cooper, Mr. Vestek, Halbert Guntinson, Jalen Bullock, Gary Williams, Robert McLean, Eli Irvin, and yes, Dan Leckie. What am I talking about here? Well, Patreon is the way that a lot of folks support creatives and creators. Mine is very simple. You go to patreon.com/Trekland Live. I just have two simple levels, so $5 and a $10. $5, I get to thank you every week, and I do that sincerely. $10, I thank you again. And those folks get access to some of our first couple of years worth of interviews, guest interviews from Star Trek creatives, especially those you rarely hear from all different pursuits and backgrounds and guilds. First couple of years of Portal 47. So I want to again thank all the patrons, invite you to do the same. They bill you once a month. It comes out of you, right to me. They take a small percent, yeah. But at the end of the month. So if you're thinking about it, and I appreciate it, if you're thinking about it, do it before the end of the month, and you'll be on for next month. Thank you, guys. Thanks to all the Patreon folks. Special note before we get away today, this week, I'm so excited to be doing this. I'm hosting a virtual cocktail party, a Starfleet virtual cocktail party. This Sunday, on Outpost 13 on Twitch. Hey, Twitchers, shout out. I'll be with you in a second. But Outpost 13 is a new channel. It's going to be the new home, the virtual home while we're locked down, of the wonderful group, can you see? Improvised Generation, which does next generation narrative improv. You've heard me talk about them before. I've done video interviews with them. With joining the lovely and talented Elisa Pearl, we're going to co-host a bunch of folks from all across Star Trek, but headlined by Armin Shimmerman and Kitty and John Billingsley and Dan Curry, the Emmy-winning visual effects, and Mary Chifo and Tamlin Tamita and Chase Masterson and a lot of the cast of Improvised Generation and Dr. Aaron Mack, Donald, Mohammed Noor, science consultants, lots and lots and lots of folks. I'm probably leaving some out right now. I should be shot. But it's not panels. It's a cocktail party. So we're going to have a few minutes with everybody. We're kind of wandering around a virtual room and we got some fun things planned. So I hope you can join us. It's 3 to 6 Pacific. So that's 6 to 9 Eastern. Even the Brits can get in. It's 11 p.m., okay, to 2 a.m. So hopefully you can join us. It's all to launch. It's all a little launch party to mark Improvised Generation going to Twitch to be virtual this year. And how they're going to do improv virtually is going to be amazing to see too. So hopefully you can join us Sunday afternoon. I'm so excited to be co-hosting that. Of course, I'm always excited to be co-hosting Life Support Live with Dr. Ali at 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturdays live. Right where you're watching me right now, that's where we'll be. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We have a chat there too. We even have a Skype you can come in on us or just talk. We go boldly every week through uncertain times. A lot of Star Trek, a lot of geekery, a lot of mental health too. So some takeaways to help you in these crazy times. Life Support Live, coming soon in podcast form after the fact. So if you're an audio podcasting, then you can do that. Speaking of podcasts, hey, the Trek Files, we're on hiatus. This is our season break. We're going to take a month off, maybe 4 weeks, maybe 5. We'll see what's going on. But the whole back catalog is there. We've had 5 seasons. Our season's a half year. So 5 times 24. Oh my gosh, that's 120 episodes of the Trek Files with guests. Guests including people like the late, great Dorothy Fontana. We had her in for 6 episodes. It's the Fact Files on Facebook. That's where the documents are, right? Every week. You can get paper documents and see what we're talking about. See for yourself. If you want to get all the great podcasts from Roddenberry's podcasting, it's podcast.roddenberry.com. And there's a lot of good ones. You know them. I'll start naming them. Mission Log Live, Women at Warp, Mission Log Regular, Daily Star Trek News. You should check out Allie's daily little news nugget. Priority One, Shabam, and there's more coming. Most of all, guys, if you're leaving me right now, if you're watching on YouTube, it's at Larry Nemecek, same place you're watching on YouTube. It's Larry Nemecek's Trekland on Instagram as well as Facebook, where you are now. And of course, portal47.net is the place to jump into the portal if you want to have a mini-con all month long, all year long, the way we're doing. Guys, that's it for this Tuesday for part 1. If you're sticking with us, I'll see you after this break. We'll do the Q&A and the Parrot Analytics streaming ratings for the U.S. top 10. And if you're not staying with us, then you're watching on YouTube. Thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to see what the chat looks like and all of the hullabaloo, then come watch it over on Facebook. Meanwhile, guys, please, 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 again, something to be mindful of, right? We all approach video differently, and a lot of it breaks down a lot of it, not 100%, but a lot of it breaks down on where we were born and what we were addicted to watching on TV at the time. And if that includes the generation of real world that begat the way reality TV works, or 3/4 of TV now is people doing this. Commercial TV, not webcams, not YouTube, but commercial TV with commercials. It's a generational thing in a lot of ways. And we sometimes should maybe stop and realize that when we're looking around. In this case, it was great. In the case of the goodness of Star Trek, and the way it affects us all, it's a good thing. Guys, please, out there in this insane year, stay healthy, stay woke, check your sources, watch The Social Dilemma, most of all. Do all that, and I know that you will. Trek well.